Vidheads, welcome back. Yes, I know it's been a while, but here we are again, and this is a great video for all you guys that shoot hybrid cameras, and mainly for those who have hybrid cameras where your picture taking sensor resolution is higher than the resolution that the camera allows you to actually film videos with. This one is for you. You want to listen up because I have a hack for you guys. Matter of fact, I don't have a hack. I got this from another YouTuber, which I'm going to show you here in a second. But if your camera can take pictures at like 6K and 8K, but only films at 4K, well, listen up, because with the Canon R8, I'm able to get 6K raw out of this camera after this. I was able to take the Canon R8 and get 6K raw video out of it. You want to know how I did it?
Time lapse. That's all it is. It's just a time lapse that takes place over 7 seconds. Wow. It's more like a burst lapse.
Yes, I've been following Josh Yo for a while now. Make art now. He makes great content. If you guys have not seen that video, go ahead and watch it in its entirety here. Make sure you give him a like, follow, and you probably want to subscribe because he's always maximizing the quality out of his equipment and he's showing you how he does it. But I remember seeing this video years ago. At the time, I didn't have a hybrid camera that I was interested in, exploiting this particular hack with it. But now that I got the Canon R8 and I bought it as a B cam to my R5C, I began to start trying to find what are my limitations, what are the strengths of this camera, and man, I'm glad that I was able to go ahead and try to maximize the sensor and see what it is actually capable of. All right, vidheads, so this is what you're going to do in order to get your camera set up to shoot speed bursts for your 6K video. So understandingly, first off, we normally are in video mode, so what you're going to need to do is switch to picture mode. Now once you switch to picture mode, then you're going to go into your menu. Now the red camera at the top and tab 1 is where you want to be. So right down there at image quality, we want to select that. In image quality, you're going to see that there's RAW and there's C-RAW. C-RAW is compressed RAW. The difference between the RAW and the C-RAW, from what I can tell so far, the C-RAW does not need as much storage to hold the images as RAW does. So the difference for me, in RAW, I only get a little over 2 seconds of images for the speed burst, and in C-RAW I get a little over 4 seconds. Now, is there any difference in image quality? I'm not sure because I have not compared them, but what I can say, C-RAW does give you a really dynamic image, and it seems as if you're getting more dynamic range in the RAW format as opposed to the video 4K format. So this is what I do. I go ahead and I select C-RAW under the RAW, and then under JPEG I select the minus sign because I do not want multiple images recorded for the same image, right? So if I select one of these different other variations of JPEG, then it's gonna record a C-RAW image and a JPEG image, and I don't want that because if that happens, then I'm not gonna get as many images recorded in my speed burst. So I want to maximize and get as most images I can in my speed burst. So I go ahead and hit the minus sign under the JPEG so that no JPEG images are recorded, only the C-RAW. Okay, so now we want to come back out of the menu and we're going into the camera. So in this mode, what we want to do is we want to hit the Q Q mode. Now I'm not that versed with Canon camera, so I don't know the proper names of these different menus, but I would believe that it would be called the quick menu, the Q. Once you select the drive mode, then you have options here. You can select high speed continuous plus or high speed continuous. I select high speed continuous plus because in my mind, I'm hoping that it's giving me the most amount of images in that speed burst. So that's what I select. Now, mind you, I am not a photographer in any stretch of the imagination whatsoever, right? I am strictly a videographer trying to transition into a cinematographer, right? And so what I'm looking to do is try to get the most quality out of my camera and video, right? And as I'm in school right now learning to be a colorist, I'm trying to always shoot in RAW as much as I possibly can because I need as many reps as I can get coloring, getting that experience and going through the workflow and all that good stuff. So that's where this kind of comes in for me. And so I'm going to show you guys the workflow as well, how I'm able to convert this and actually grade this RAW in Davinci Resolve. Okay, so I had to look up on YouTube for a way to use my time-lapse images in Davinci Resolve. And I didn't know what workflow works for Davinci Resolve. So I went to YouTube and I searched it, and lo and behold, I came up with this video first. Matthew, I think it's Vanderput. I'm not sure his last name, but he was showing me about the Adobe D&G converter or the Adobe digital negative converter. I knew nothing about it, even though I have Adobe Suite, Creative Cloud, and all that good stuff. Anyway, luckily I was able to watch this video and he showed how to use it. It's very simple and straightforward. I want to make sure I mention him, and if you guys want to go ahead and check out his video, I'll have the link in the description below. All right, so let's get started. We got Davinci Resolve up and we got our Adobe Digital Negative Converter or Adobe D&G Converter, right? It's very simple and straightforward. Now, I've already showed you guys how to actually record your images. So once you record your images and you organize them and put them in their own folder and that type of thing, now all you have to do is tell Adobe D&G Converter where they are. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select the folder and I'm going to go to 14. Yeah, 14 is where I want to select. That's where my images are. I'm just going to select that folder, and then it's asking where I want to put the converted images. And so I'm going to put it in the same directory, the same folder, but I'm going to allocate it. I'm going to call it 14 D&G. Okay. So 14 D&G, I'm going to select it, and we're good. So now it knows where to get the images and where to convert the images and put them to, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and hit convert. And here it is converting them. As you can see, I had 85 images in this particular take, and it's going through converting. And it's all done. It was just that quick. So I hit okay, because I'm gonna do another set. I'm going to have it go to like 28, I think. And I'll hit select, and where I want the images to go after they're converted, I'm going to hit 28 D&G. All right, then go on there, and we're going to hit select. So now it knows, and we hit convert. Now, Davinci Resolve does not understand the raw format of the images, so that's why we convert it to D&G, because it understands D&G. And it's done just that quick. So I'm going to hit exit because I'm done. Now I'm going to go here to my media pool, and I'm going to go find those that I just converted. Footage, I think one was 14, right? Here it is, the D&G. I can just bring this, drag this down here. There it is. And it's already made a 24 frames per second video for me. And I think the other one was what, 28? We're gonna go to 28. I'm gonna bring it down. And it's doing the same thing here, right? So let's just go to our timeline, and I'm going to show you exactly how I go through the workflow for these. Now, it took me a minute to figure this out for myself. I didn't really go to any of the different videos to show me this part because I was having problems with the CST, the color space transform. So I'm going to bring my clip down here on my timeline here. As you can see, it's nice and flat. You see the scopes here. It's nice and flat. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my color tab, and the color transform that works for me is already baked into Davinci Resolve. So pretty much you already have it, and it's the Canon log to video. Hit the Canon log to video, and you can see the difference already in the scopes. See? So I already stretched them out. So now I'm going to go over here to my raw tab. Now, when you go to the raw tab, you don't have to worry about creating another node because this is information that we're changing before it comes to the node section. So I'm going to go down and decode using, instead of project, I'm going to say clip. And it's going to give me the ability to change all the different aspects of this particular video clip when it comes to color and the attributes, right? So I have a little workflow that I've worked out that seems to work for me. So I'm going to show you that right now. I go to color boost and I make it 50.9. I go to saturation and I go to 16.4. This is just my standard way of doing it. This is where I start. And then I'll add some contrast to it a little bit. And I'm always also looking at my scopes here, make sure I'm not clipping anything. Now the black is going to clip a little bit because our dress is clipped. But one of the things that I noticed while I'm doing this workflow is that my blacks has blues in them. And I'm going to show you what I do to correct that. So a little bit of contrast here. Maybe I dial it back just a little bit. I make sure my highlights are good. And that's a good starting point right here. So then what I do is I go up here and I create another node, and I'll do it before my CST. Let me label them. This is my CST color space transform. And this one, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to correct the black, right? So I'm gonna call this correct. Bring this over here. And in order to correct that black, I'm gonna go over here and that's lift, and I'm going to move it away from the blue. Just a little bit until it looks black. That's pretty decent. Because I wanted to do the same thing for the hair and the dress. It looks pretty good. I can work with that. So now I'm going to create another node. And the first thing I like to do is I like to deal with the skin. And so in dealing with the skin, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my qualifier here and I'm going to select the skin. Because what I like to do, I like to pop the skin out a little bit, make it look a little 3D-ish. So in order to see the highlighted qualifier, Shift H, and then we can dial it in how we want. I don't mind getting that pink. I don't mind that at all. I'm trying to get his face and her face is my main concern right now. There we go. I got her skin, I got his skin. So that's actually pretty good right there. And all I'm trying to do is I'm gonna go back to like my color. Now I'm gonna hit Shift H. And what I'm doing here is I wanna see her face pop a little bit. I wanna see a more of a 3D-ish look. So I'll add a little bit of contrast. something like that. Not much, but just enough to give it some contour. I've learned giving it a little contour makes all the difference. I might dial that back just a little bit. I think it's a little too much for me. Off, on, off, on. And not really going too far into how I would actually grade this. I'm just kind of showing you guys the difference in bringing in your 6K raw images out of your Canon R8, a $1,500 camera, and what you're able to do with it, what you're able to accomplish with it. This right here, as you can see, is playing a little choppy. I have to let it catch up a little bit. This is raw out of the Canon R8. So let's go to the next one. Let's try the next one. I'm gonna move this one over here so we can see how many seconds we got out of this one. We got 3 seconds and 3.2 seconds out of this one. Now, normally on average, I'm getting a little over 4 seconds. So we hit Z to reset our viewer. And I'm gonna do the same thing here. We're gonna go to our color tab, keep an eye on the scopes here. I'm gonna hit Z to reset our viewer. And the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bring up my CST, my color space transform. I'm going to go to the LUTs. I'm gonna go down here to Canon log to video. All right, see how that looks already? So now I'm gonna bring up another node. I'm gonna say add node before. I'm not gonna mess with that just yet. We're gonna go over here to the camera raw tab. We're gonna do the same thing as the last one, clip, and I'm doing the same flow as last time, 50.9. Like I said, it just seems to be a good starting point for me. 16.4. See what that looks like there. Again, this is a $1,500 camera. All right, so then I'm looking at my scopes here, looking at how much room I have. I can bring my highlight down just a touch. Just a touch. If I bring my highlight down a touch, I can add a little bit of contrast. Just a little bit. All right, so one of the things I see here is his skin is red. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna correct that. So in his skin, I'm gonna go here. And in his skin, it's gonna be like mid-tones, right? So we're gonna go here to the gamma and we're gonna pull the red down a bit. Just a little bit, just a little. Sometimes I like to go way too much and then come back up. So I get it the way I like it. That's about good. Before, after. Just a little bit more up here. Before, after. That looks better. All right. So now we can add another node if we like. And let's call this skin. As you can see, it's a recurring thing with me when it comes to this, because I love to make my skin pop at all possible. Shift H, and then we dial it in. All right. Bring in the skin. All right, so we're gonna go to our color, Shift H, turn off our highlight, right? Then we're gonna add some contrast into that skin. Go too much, and then dial back. All right, let's see what we got here. Not too much here. So what I want to do now is bring down my highlights a little bit in the skin, just a touch, not much. Again, you can play with it however you want. You can get the look the way you want to look. It's all subjective to me. And I just want you guys to see what you're able to accomplish out of this $1,500 camera. So again, I mentioned before, it looks like to me that Canon is on this ride of making sure that their cameras are image first. And that's what it seems to me. Again, I'm coming from Sony. I'm predominantly a Sony shooter. And I'm just now getting into Canon cameras and trying them out and using them to see if I like them or not. I have the R5C and I have the R8. And as I was going through the R8, trying to see what are the strengths and the limitations of this camera, this right here, bar none, is exceptional out of a $1,500 camera. Let's see if we can add some contrast into this one. Bring the lift up just a bit. A little bit of a difference, give it a little bit more of a contour. And as you can see right here on the side, you're getting the whole sensor. That's why you have these black bars on the side, the 4:3 ratio. And basically what I do is I just zoom in 1.19 on both. Go to inspector 1.19. It's just not deniable how good this RAW is, this 12-bit RAW coming out of the R8 off that sensor. Mind you, we did this based on still images and we just converted it into a 24 frame timeline. I can get them look a little bit closer. Well, that's it. That's it for the workflow for the 6K RAW out of the Canon R8. If you guys have not already, go ahead, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, because I want to get this video in front of as many people as I possibly can, because I am so excited about this particular hack and using it with the R8. Again, I am not the originator of this whatsoever. Again, I got this from Make Art Now, and like I said, he has a tons of content maximizing the potential of his equipment. If you guys have not been following him, you might want to go ahead and give him a sub and, you know, go through his library and his catalog. He's got tons of different things. The R8 is a $1,500 camera. That's what's so exciting to me. I paid $1,500 for this camera, and I mainly bought it as a B cam to my R5C because my R5C is not the strongest in low light, so I was looking for something that would be a little stronger in low light that's not going to break the bank, right? And so when I got the R8, that was its main function for me. Most of the time, the lower the megapixel tends to work out where they do a little bit better in lower light conditions, right? And so since the R5C is 45 megapixels and the R8 is 24, I took a gamble if it would perform better in low light than the R5C. All right, so that's it. 6K RAW in a $1,500 camera, the Canon R8, right? So you guys know me, I'm Aaron Jones, I'm your big brother, and I got your back. We talk a lot about gear, and that's great, but really the emphasis is on you as the content creator, the filmmaker, right? It's all about you having tools at your disposal for you to be able to get behind the equipment and make it do what it do, right? So we're all taking our skill to the next level. If you're all right with what the content that I'm producing here, make sure you go ahead and hit a like, go ahead and give me a subscribe, because we're gonna take this to another level. And make sure you go out and you film something and kill it.